Public school districts establish district policies to ensure consistent, equitable, and transparent governance across all schools under their jurisdiction. These policies cover a wide range of areas, including curriculum standards, student conduct, staff responsibilities, financial management, and safety protocols. The primary purpose of these policies is to create a stable and predictable educational environment that supports student achievement and well-being, while also maintaining public trust and accountability. When a Board of Education consciously decides not to follow established district policies, several repercussions can arise. This can lead to inconsistencies in school management, potentially resulting in unfair treatment of students and staff. It can also undermine the board's integrity and credibility, eroding public trust and confidence in the district's leadership. Additionally, disregarding policies may expose the district to legal challenges, financial penalties, and other forms of liability, especially if non-compliance results in harm or discrimination. Adherence to district policies is crucial for maintaining the integrity, fairness, and effectiveness of the public education system. In the slides ahead, we will focus on specific instances where the Nrw Wolcott Central School District Board of Education has chosen not to follow district policy. We will examine the specific policies, the potential risks involved, and the broader impact on the school community and public trust. Policy Code 1320. Nomination and election of board officers and duties of the President and Vice President. Adopted on June 13, 2017, Policy 1320 details the procedures for nominating and electing the board officers, specifically the President and Vice President, at the board's annual organizational meeting. The President is responsible for presiding over all board meetings, calling special meetings when necessary, appointing members to all board committees, serving as an ex officio member on all committees, and executing official documents on behalf of the board. These are their only duties. The Vice President is designated to perform the President's duties in their absence and assumes the role of President if the position becomes vacant until a new President is elected. Non-compliance with this policy can have significant repercussions. For example, if the President regularly makes unilateral decisions, such as determining the evaluation process for the superintendent, creating committees, or deciding on the types of meetings held, like she has, without consulting the board, it undermines the board's collective authority and decision-making process. Such actions can disrupt board operations, lead to confusion and inefficiency, and potentially result in legal or procedural challenges. Additionally, this lack of adherence erodes trust among board members and the community, affecting the board's credibility and overall effectiveness. Adopted in 1992 and last revised on June 9, 2015, Policy Code 1410 delineates the procedures for the creation, adoption, and management of board policy and administrative regulations. The Board of Education holds the responsibility for establishing guidelines that govern the school system, with the superintendent serving as an advisor in the development and approval of these policies. Input from staff and the community is considered where appropriate, and policies are adopted following a robust procedure that includes discussion and approval across 2 separate board meetings. Despite the critical nature of these policies, the Nrw Wolcott Board of Education has not received an update on administrative regulations for at least the last 6 years, nor has it been presented with a current copy of such. This oversight can lead to several significant issues. Regulatory non-compliance. The absence of current information may result in the application of outdated practices that no longer comply with legal standards, potentially exposing the district to legal challenges. Operational inconsistencies. Without regular updates, there may be inconsistencies in understanding and applying policies across different levels of the school administration, leading to inefficiencies and potential conflicts. Governance weakness. The board's lack of access to the most recent policy documents undermines its ability to govern effectively, as decisions may not be based on the most accurate and current information. Loss of confidence. Stakeholders, including parents, teachers, and staff, may lose confidence in the board's ability to manage the educational environment effectively if they perceive that governance is being conducted under outdated or incorrect policies. This gap in policy management and communication must be addressed to ensure that the board remains a credible and authoritative body in the governance of the school district. Adopted in 1992 and revised on June 13, 2017, Policy 2110 governs the orientation and training of new members of the North Rose-Wolcott School Board. Orientation and materials. New board members are provided with materials from various educational associations and are invited to attend board meetings to understand board functions. Selective interaction by the board president. The policy intends for new members to meet with the superintendent as part of their orientation. However, it has been observed that the board president selectively determines which new members can meet with the superintendent. This practice deviates from the intended equitable treatment of all new board members. Implications of selective interaction. Uneven access to information. The board president's selective allowance restricts some members' access to critical information and insights from the superintendent, leading to disparities in knowledge and preparedness among board members. Impact on governance. Such selective practices can undermine the effectiveness of the board's governance, as not all members are equally equipped to make informed decisions. Risk of bias and transparency issues. This approach can foster a perception of bias and favoritism, compromising the transparency and fairness expected in board operations. Recommendation. To uphold the integrity and effectiveness of the board, it is critical that all new members receive an equal opportunity to engage fully in the orientation process, including meetings with the superintendent. Implementing a standardized procedure that ensures all new members have this opportunity would mitigate potential biases and enhance board governance. Policy 2340, adopted in 1992, mandates that the North Rose-Wolcott School Board annually reviews its effectiveness in internal operations to ensure robust governance. Key procedure and issues. Annual self-evaluation. The board is required to conduct an annual self-evaluation to review and improve its functioning. This includes soliciting input from the superintendent and other staff who regularly interact with the board. The board has used its set board goals as the framework for this self-evaluation. However, a significant issue has arisen with this approach. The board virtually never meets throughout the year to monitor progress on these goals. Additionally, there is a lack of accountability for the superintendent in executing these goals. Specific examples of non-compliance, insufficient tracking and accountability. Over the past 6 years, the board has failed to effectively track or assess progress toward its goals. 2 recent examples highlight this problem. Academic success information. The board voted to receive more relevant information regarding the academic success of students. However, there has been no regular review or discussion on the progress or effectiveness of measures taken in this area. School climate and culture surveys. The board decided to conduct surveys to gauge the learning and working environment within the district. Despite this decision, there has been little follow-through in reviewing these surveys or using them to make informed decisions because they are still not available. An entire school year passed with no progress. Potential challenges and recommendations. Lack of regular monitoring. The effectiveness of board goals is severely compromised without regular meetings to track progress. Need for clear accountability mechanisms. There is a crucial need for mechanisms that hold the superintendent and the board accountable for the execution and outcome of established goals. Improvement in evaluation processes. To truly benefit from the self-evaluation policy, the board should ensure that evaluations are thorough, involve regular monitoring of progress, and include actionable feedback from all relevant stakeholders. By addressing these gaps and ensuring a more disciplined approach to self-evaluation and goal management, the board can significantly enhance its governance effectiveness and better serve the educational community. Policy Code 3230, adopted in 1992 and revised on March 24, 2020, governs how public complaints are managed within the North Rose-Wolcott School District. Key procedures. Complaint escalation. Initially handled at the administrative level, complaints may escalate to the superintendent and, if unresolved, to the Board of Education. Board's role. The policy allows for escalated complaints to be addressed by the full board. Specific issue with board's response. Unilateral decision-making by board president. Over the past 6 years, the board as a whole has never met to discuss a complaint escalated to them. The board president has independently handled these complaints without involving other board members or informing them about the decisions made. Potential challenges and ramifications. Lack of transparency and governance. This approach by the board president undermines transparency and the collective decision-making expected in board governance, potentially breaching the established policy. Erosion of trust. Such practices can diminish trust among board members and with the community, leading to perceptions of bias and mismanagement. Compliance risks. Handling complaints in a manner not outlined by policy exposes the board to legal and ethical risks. Recommendations. Adherence to policy. The board must ensure that all complaints reaching them are discussed collectively, adhering to the intended procedural guidelines. Increased transparency. Implementing structured communication protocols regarding complaints can enhance transparency and involvement of all board members. By reinforcing these guidelines, the board can improve its responsiveness to public complaints and uphold governance standards. This concludes Part 1 of our exploration into the policies that the NRW Board of Education is operating outside of. Stay tuned for Part 2.